It had been a regular Tuesday. I was in my room, the usual hum of my ventilator filling the quiet air, a comforting sound that meant I could breathe. My dad was outside doing some yard work, and my mom was in the kitchen making her usual morning coffee. The house felt calm, serene, even the kind of peace that you almost take for granted. But that peace was about to be shattered in a way none of us could have predicted. You see, we live in a neighborhood with an HOA. It's a pretty standard suburban setup where the rules are clear and the neighbors mostly mind their own business. That is until Karen moved in. Karen was the new HOA president, and the moment she arrived, she started shaking things up. Suddenly, everything that was perfectly fine before became a problem. The grass too high, the lawn gnomes an eyesore, the trash cans visible for a minute too long. At first it was all petty complaints, small things really, but it didn't take long before Karen's idea of order started clashing with our lives. See, we weren't just your typical suburban family. I've got a medical condition that requires constant care. I'm on a ventilator. My family had informed the HOA board about my situation the moment we moved in, explaining the need for 24/7 power and the backup systems we had in place. We even provided documentation from my doctors and nurses, all of it clearly outlining how crucial it was for me to have uninterrupted power. At first they seemed understanding, but that was before Karen. It started with the usual HOA nonsense, the things I mentioned earlier, minor complaints mostly. But it escalated quickly. One Tuesday, after my dad had finished some yard work, he left the lawnmower sitting on the edge of our driveway, planning to put it away after his shower. Before we knew it, Karen was knocking at the door. My mom answered, and Karen, clipboard in hand, pointed at the lawnmower. "This is a violation," she said, her tone cold. "It's not aesthetically pleasing." My mom tried to explain that my dad had just left it there for a moment, that he was about to put it away, but Karen wasn't having it. "This is your second warning this month," she said, barely looking up from her clipboard. "First for the trash bins. Now this." My mom, ever the peacekeeper, just nodded and closed the door. It was just another Karen moment, we thought. No big deal. But the next day we got a formal violation notice. A fine for unapproved exterior modifications. Now this was strange. We hadn't changed anything on the house. So my dad called Karen. Turns out the fine was for a small, discreet medical alert sign next to our door. The kind that tells paramedics where to go if there's an emergency. Karen called it an unauthorized sign. "What do you mean unauthorized?" my dad asked, trying to stay calm. "It's a safety measure." Karen's reply was chilling. "All signs must be approved by the architectural committee. Submit a request and we'll consider it." It was absurd. It wasn't a decoration. It was a life-saving necessity. And yet there we were, caught in Karen's web of rules. That Friday, things went from absurd to outright dangerous. I was in my room resting. My nurse Sarah was monitoring my vitals when suddenly the comforting hum of my ventilator stopped. A few frantic beeps followed, signaling the power failure. The backup system kicked in, but as it did, it also started alarming. It wasn't just a simple power outage, it was something worse. "Sarah, what happened?" My mom rushed into the room, her face pale. Sarah quickly checked the main panel. "The main breaker is off. Not just for the house, it's the whole line feeding the house." My dad, already panicked, ran outside to check the utility box. And there she was, Karen, standing next to the power box, a smug grin on her face. "What did you do?" my dad shouted, his voice shaking with anger. Karen looked up, completely unfazed. "Your account has an outstanding balance of $150 for unpaid fines," she said, holding a lock. "Per HOA bylaws, we have the right to suspend services for delinquent accounts. This includes community-managed utilities." My dad was stunned. "You can't do that," he said, his voice rising. "This is the main power line from the city. You have no right." She shrugged. "You should have thought of that before violating the rules." I couldn't believe it. She was cutting off power to a man on life support over a petty fine. "You're endangering my son's life," my dad yelled, desperate. Karen didn't even flinch, not the HOA's concern. My dad was shaking, but he didn't back down. He knew this was serious. Sarah was already on the phone with 911 and the power company. But the worst part, the power company said it would take up to an hour to send someone out. I had about 7 hours left on the backup battery. The tension in the house was suffocating. Every beep from my machines felt like a countdown. But my dad wasn't about to just sit there. He called an old friend who owned an event company. "We've got a situation," he said. "Can you help?" 10 minutes later, the answer came. "Help is on the way." And help came in the form of a massive semi-truck-sized industrial generator. It was so big it nearly blocked the entire street as it roared into our driveway. The sound was deafening, shaking the windows in every house, including Karen's. She came storming out, her face twisted in fury. "You can't park a commercial vehicle here," she yelled, but no one paid her any attention. The technicians already out of the truck began running thick cables toward our house. My dad walked over to Karen, a grin spreading across his face. "This is our new power source," he said. "Since you've decided to play God with the city's power grid." Karen's face went white. "You can't do this," she shouted. "The noise, the fumes, it's an HOA violation." "Call the cops," my dad said, his voice icy. "Tell them why you cut power to a man on life support." Just then, sirens wailed. 2 police cars and a power company truck pulled up, lights flashing. Neighbors who had been peeking out from behind their windows were now gathering outside. One of the officers walked over to the locked power box. "Ma'am, did you put this lock on the public utility box?" "Yes," she said smugly. They were in violation. The officer's response was swift. "That's tampering with public utilities. You're under arrest." Karen's face drained of color as she was cuffed and led away, muttering about her rights and the HOA handbook. It was a moment none of us would ever forget. The power company cut the lock off, and within seconds the power was restored. The generator crew packed up, giving my dad a thumbs up. "Glad we could help," one of the technicians said. The next day, the HOA board sent us a formal apology. Karen was removed as president, and she was facing serious legal charges. The fines were dropped. They admitted her actions were unconscionable. We never saw Karen again. Rumor has it she sold her house and moved out in the middle of the night. Our street is quiet again. But the story of the day the giant generator came to town has become a local legend. And sometimes when you're dealing with a bully who thinks they have all the power, you've got to show them what real power looks like. For us, it was about 1.2 megawatts loud and parked right in front of her house. Thanks for watching, and remember, always stand up for what's right.